Welcome to Mindful Leadership, Transforming Lives, with your host, Singh. This is where leadership meets purpose, presence, and passion. In today's fast paced, high pressure world, we face a leadership crisis. Too often, teams are led by managers who lack empathy, clarity, and vision, leaving individuals uninspired, disconnected, and undervalued. But it doesn't have to be this way. Great leadership isn't born, it's built. The end game: empower your leadership, inspire the world. Every week, join me, your host Singh, as we tackle the gaps in leadership and life coaching head on, learning how mindfulness, emotional intelligence, and compassion can redefine success. This isn't just another podcast, it's a mission to fill the void left by ineffective leadership. And it's not just about leadership in business. Life coaching for leaders and new executives is at heart of this journey. Ready to rise above the noise and lead with clarity, purpose, and impact? Join a global movement dedicated to reshaping the future of leadership one mindful moment at a time. Let's begin.
Welcome back to another episode of Mindful Leadership Podcast on the Transformation Network, the podcast where we turn stress into strategy, overthinking into clarity, and overwhelm into momentum. I'm your host, Singh, the leadership coach who knows that growth does not stop. It happens through burnout, it happens through alignment. So let's begin. Today, let's start with a simple question. When was the last time your team made a decision that left you shaking your head and thinking, how the hell did we get here? Maybe it was a budget decision that made no sense. Maybe someone thought it was a great idea to schedule a meeting 5 p.m. on Friday. Whatever it was, you just felt that moment of, wow, we are so out of sync. Now, here's the thing, that's what happens when a team is not aligned on values. It is like running a relay race where everyone is sprinting in different direction. Lots of effort, no progress. Or worse, you are the poor coach standing on the sidelines yelling, why are you running into the crowd? So here is the deal. Values are not just fluffy words in a handbook or those motivational posters you haven't dusted since 2018, maybe. Values are operating systems of your team. Without them, you are gambling with trust, culture, and performance. And let's be real, who wants to bet their success on vibes alone? So today, we are diving into how aligning your team's values with your organization's missions creates clarity, boosts performance, and builds resilience. Because here's the truth, if you do not build alignment intentionally, misalignment will build itself. And trust me, that is a mess no one wants to clean up. So let's begin. Let's talk about alignment for a second. Because if your team has values that are not aligned with your organization's mission, you might as well hand everyone a blindfold, spin them around 3 times, and tell them to try hitting a bullseye. It's not happening. Now, if you're thinking, okay, Singh, but how do I actually do this? Don't worry, I got you. I use a simple system called the AIM framework. And yeah, it's called AIM because if you want your team to hit target, you got to give them something clear to aim for. So let's break it down. Awareness is the first step. And the question you have got to ask is, does my team actually know what we stand for? Because if your values only live in handbooks or framed posters in break room and nobody looks at, they are invisible. Say your company's value is innovation. If all you have done is write the word innovation on a slide deck during onboarding, I hate to break it down. That is not a value, it is a wishful thinking. You have got to make it specific, you have got to give it legs. So you might say, for us, innovation means taking smart risks, not reckless ones. Now, it is not just a word, it is a guideline. Your team knows exactly what it looks in action. Let me give you a real world example. Apple. The value of innovation is not just a buzzword, they live by it. It is why their team knows the difference between releasing a groundbreaking feature and rushing out a half baked one. So here is your first gut check. Ask yourself, do my team values actually mean something? Can my people describe them in plain language? And can I stand behind them as a model, modeling that statement? If the answer is no, you have just found your first alignment gap. All right, let's move to the second step, integration. This is where values go from being a talk to being a practice. And here is the gut check question again. Do your values show up in daily decisions, meetings, and priorities? Think of it like this. If your team is not consciously asking, does this align with our mission? When they are making decisions, then guess what? Your values are just vibes. And vibes, they don't build trust, culture, or performance. You want an example of what integration looks like in action? Let's talk about Patagonia. Their mission is sustainability, right? That is not just a slogan for them, it is baked into every choice they make. So when their founder announced he was giving away the company to fight climate change, people were not shocked. They were like, yeah, that tracks. Why? Because they built a culture where their values were not just words, they were habits. Every decision, every decision at Patagonia is made through the lens of sustainability. And here is the kicker: when you integrate your values like that, it does not just guide your team, it inspires your customers too. And then the final step, momentum. And let me tell you, this is where most teams drop the ball. Momentum is about keeping your values alive over time. It is not a one time workshop, it is not a PowerPoint presentation that you dust off once a year. Momentum means reinforcing your values consistently. You celebrate when someone lives the values. You recognize your values in team meetings. You tie your values into performance reviews. Because let's be honest, what get reinforced sticks. If you want your team to prioritize collaboration, call them out when they crush it. If you want them to embrace innovation, celebrate when someone takes a smart risk, even if it does not work out perfectly. A friend of mine works at a company where integrity is a core value. And every time someone goes above and beyond to do the right thing, even when it is hard, they get a shout out in the company Slack channel. Over time, those shout outs created a culture of accountability where doing the right thing was not just encouraged, it was expected. Now, that is momentum. It is about building habits that reinforce your values every single day. So, here is a reflection I want you to take away. Where is your team stuck right now? Is it awareness? Because your people are not clear on what you stand for. Is it integration? Because the values are not showing up in your team's decisions. Or is it momentum? Because you're not reinforcing those values consistently. Wherever the gap is, that is where misalignment is costing you clarity, trust, and performance. The good news: once you identify the gap, you can fix it. So think about it: awareness, integration, momentum, aim. Where is your team falling short? And what is one step you can take this week to start closing that gap? No matter how small, a step taken with intention starts your flywheel journey. So let's get practical. We talked about why Aligning team values with your mission is a game changer. But now it is time to roll up sleeves and actually make it happen. Because here is the thing: value does not magically align because you say so, they align because you create alignment. So grab a pen, or if you're driving, just mentally file this under to do ASAP. I'm going to walk you through a simple but ridiculously effective exercise you can run with your team this week. Trust me, this is not some corporate icebreaker where everyone ends up awkwardly sharing their favorite flavor of ice cream. No, this exercise will give you clarity on your team's value and show you exactly how to tie them to your mission. And think about it. If you can identify, get clarity, and you show exactly how the values tie in, it's a game changer. So start with two simple questions. And these are not tricky questions, they're straightforward, but answers can be game changing. The first one: what is one value we already live every day? And what is one value we need to embrace to level up? Now, here's the magic of these questions: they force your team to reflect on what is actually working and where the gaps are. Let me break it down for you. The first question: what is one value we already live every day? This gets people thinking about what is already embedded in your culture. Maybe it is collaboration, maybe it is accountability, or maybe it is we always have snacks in the break room, whatever it is. This question shines a light on your strengths. And then the second question: what is one value we need to embrace to level up? This is where the real insight come out. It is like holding up a mirror and saying, what is missing? What is holding us back? And don't be surprised if you hear answers that sting a little. That is a good thing. Growth does not happen without little discomfort, but it gives you that moment of clarity. Remember, mindful practice always starts by becoming an observer. So even if it stings, it is a situation. Just observe it. So that's step one. Two simple questions. Then step two. This is a step where most leaders drop the ball: going beyond buzzwords. You have got to push your team to go beyond empty buzzwords. If someone says we value innovation, don't just nod and move on. Ask them, what does innovation actually look like in your daily life? Maybe it is encouraging new ideas. Maybe it is taking smart risks. Maybe it is that one time Karen from marketing tried to automate her emails and accidentally sent everyone a meme of a dancing cat. The point is, you have got to make these values tangible. If you don't, they are just buzzwords on paper. And let me tell you, no team has ever hit their goals because of vague, feel good words. Here's an example. If your company says it values customer first thinking, what does that actually mean? Maybe it is taking time to call a client to clarify their needs instead of rushing to send an email. Maybe it is empowering frontline staff to make decisions without layers of approval. Whatever it is, define it, because clarity creates confidence and confidence creates actions. And then step three is where it all comes together. Connect the dots between your team's values and your organization's mission. Let's say your company's mission is sustainability. If your team identifies innovation as a value that they need to embrace, the next question is, how does innovation move our sustainability mission forward? Maybe it is about developing eco friendly products. Maybe it is rethinking your supply chain to reduce waste. Maybe your team can see a direct line between their values and bigger picture. That's when alignment happens. And when alignment happens, trust me, performance goes through the roof. And in the final test, ask yourself, Can my team name one real value we live? And can they connect it to our mission? If the answer is no, that is your red flag. But if they can name it and connect it, that's ownership. And ownership is where alignment turns into result. Remember, values are not just something you talk about, they are something you live. And when your team owns their values, they're not just showing up to work, they are showing up with purpose. All right, let's get into something that is going to make or break your leadership: clarity. And let me ask you this: are you leading with clarity or are you leading on assumptions? Because assumptions are sneaky little things. They don't wave a red flag or announce themselves, they quietly show up in your decision making, your team dynamics, and your culture. And before you know, they're costing you big time in turnover, disengagement, and missed growth opportunities. We, based on some of the research that we have seen, if an individual's purpose is not aligned with the vision and values of the company, they have 75% higher chance of leaving the organization. Now, there are two different types of people who work with you. There is one who are themselves big visionaries. They have big assumptions and presumptions about themselves and their future, and they're working on it. And then you have folks who are coming in, getting their salary, and they are just collecting checks. There's a huge difference. Leadership is hard enough without playing the guessing game, right? That's why we have the purpose factor assessment. If you have been listening to last few episodes, you have heard me talk about it, but today I'm going to show exactly how it ties into what we're discussing right now: alignment, clarity, and building teams that actually thrive. The purpose factor assessment is a 25-minute science based diagnostics that gets to the root of three critical things: what drives you, what keeps you motivated and aligned with your purpose, what drains you. Because let's be real, even the most high performing leaders have energy leaks, tasks, dynamics, or habit that quietly pull them down, and your blind spots. The things you don't see, but your team definitely feels. Now, why is this important? Because when you're clear on these three areas, you stop leading on autopilot and you start leading with intentionality. When you take the 25-minute assessment, you get a very clear picture of your advantages. We have natural advantage, something that you used to do as a kid and you still continue to do. You love it. Some of us are cheerleaders, some of us can be strategists, some of us can be builder, whatever that be. Then we have pull passion, things that we gravitate to do, even at our own expense of time and resource. These two, natural advantage and pull passion, that's your nature. That's who you are. Then you have acquired skills, things that you have learned and grown through experience. And the fourth one, things that happen with you over years. And you made that your defense mechanism. Whenever unexpected thing happens, a bad thing happens, that's how you come up. Now, for each four of those archetypes, the report shows you what motivates you and what frustrates you, drains you. What are your blind spots? How you lead and how you want to be led. And then we work with the teams to make sure that there is a alignment in the archetypes that your team collectively comes to. And then we go through the compass framework to make sure the 7 relationships are being played within the team. Now think about this. You would not jump in a car with no GPS and hope you will magically find your destination, right? And yet, that is exactly what so many leaders do every day. They're leading teams, making decisions, setting strategies based on incomplete information, or worse, pure guesswork. The purpose factor assessment is your leadership GPS. It gives you the map, the directions, and even the traffic report. And here is where it ties directly to today's episode on value alignment. If you don't know what drives you, how can you expect your team to align behind your mission? If you are unclear on what drains you, how will you recognize when your team's energy is slipping? And if you have blind spots, how are you supposed to build trust and alignment with your people? So, the tool purpose factor assessment does not just help you, it helps your entire team. Now, remember, when we look at mindful practices, it all starts with having that moment of presence, becoming an observer of what you are observing to get clarity in your prefrontal cortex. Once you have clarity in your prefrontal cortex, emotionally, you get balanced. And when you get emotionally balanced, you have cognitive clarity. And when you have cognitive clarity, you make decisions. And when you make decision with that cognitive clarity, a balanced emotional state, and then take that one small intentional move that changes the entire dynamics, the entire environment, the entire protocol of how you are operating. Now, here is where we take it up a notch. Taking the purpose factor assessment is not just about getting a report and saying, oh, cool, I did not realize I hate morning meetings. No. My promise to you is that once you take the assessment, I will personally spend 90 minutes with you on one, walking through your result. Now, this is not some generic group session where you are just another face on Zoom. These are tailored conversation where we dig into the specifics of your leadership challenge, your team's dynamics, your organization's needs. And here is what we'll do in those 90 minutes. We cover the root cause of what is holding you and your team back. We will identify actionable steps to align your leadership with your organization's mission. And most importantly, we'll create a roadmap that turns your stress into strategy. This is about clarity. Because when you are clear, your team feels it, they trust it, and they follow it. Clarity is not just a leadership trait, it is a leadership superpower. It is a leadership must have. I know what some of you might be thinking. I'm too busy for this right now. Or maybe things are not that bad. I'll figure it out eventually. But here is the hard truth: misalignment does not fix itself. Blind spots don't disappear on their own. You continue to do what is frustrating you and waiting until a crisis hits to figure out what is really going on. That is a gamble you don't want to take. See, the way we define purpose is what is the best of what you have to give others. As a leader, you need to have that clarity. What is the best you have to give your team, to give your organization? And in return, you get fulfillment, which we say 3 G's, right? Grace, gratitude, and growth. You see grace when you see others growing because of the clarity that you have given them. Peers and your team members thank you. That's the gratitude. And when you have clarity and alignment, nobody can stop your growth. So if you have been feeling stuck, if your team is if team's energy is off, or if you cannot remember the last time you felt excited about leading, don't wait to hit the rock bottom. Head to the site in the description of this particular episode. We have a link. Take the purpose factor assessment and let's start building the clarity that turns stress into strategy. All right, it's time to bring it home. The bottom line: a group of people without shared values, that's not a team, that's just a crowd. And what do we know about crowds? They're chaotic, aimless, more likely to give you headache than results. But a team aligned with values, that is a force of nature. That is the kind of team that does not just weather storms, they thrive in them. And here's the thing: alignment does not just happen because you printed out some company values and slapped them on the wall next to the coffee machine. No one is looking at those and thinking, wow, I feel so empowered. Alignment is intentional. It is built through conversations, reinforced through decisions, and lived every single day in every single action. Let's get real for a second. Misalignment, it is everywhere right now. Take a look at news. Whether it is companies struggling with employees returning to office or teams navigating massive layoffs, the common thread is lack of clarity and shared purpose. But teams that are aligned, they are the ones figuring out how to adapt, how to innovate, and how to move forward together. So here is my challenge: start the conversation, define the values that matter, not just to your organization, but to your team too. And more importantly, live them. Because values are not just what you say, they're what you show. So let me leave you with this: when your team's values line up with your mission, you're not just successful, you are unstoppable. You are listening to Singh, your host on Mindful Leadership Transforming Lives on the Transformation Network. So go out, lead proud, and always, always, always lead with resilience. You have got this. And as always, I'm right here with you every step of the way. Thank you.
Thank you for watching Mindful Leadership Transforming Lives. With me, your host, Singh. We are honored to have you join us on this journey to explore the transformative power of mindfulness, emotional intelligence, and authentic leadership. Tune in every week on transformationtalkradio.com at noon Pacific on Tuesdays, where we will continue to explore how mindful leadership can create a ripple effect of positive changes in your life and lives of those you influence. This show is dedicated to helping you lead with purpose, presence, and passion. Whether you're navigating the complexities of business, building strong connection with your team, or striving to make a meaningful impact in the world around you. To learn more about the show, access additional resources, or dive deeper, visit singpowerupcoach.com. Remember, leadership isn't just about what you do, it's about who you are. Let's continue to transform lives together, one mindful moment at a time. See you next week.